What is up, guys? Randall here from Wired In, bringing you another video. And I know it's been a really long time, but I'll definitely be covering that in another video. Today, I wanted to take a quick look at a monitor that I'm not really seeing that many reviews for, despite it being pretty anticipated and pretty solid. That's going to be the LG, I have to look because the name is ridiculous, but the LG38GN950-B. Emphasis on the B because, as you know, we see a lot of reviews of the first rendition of the monitor, but not so many for this one. And I'll get into some of those reasons in just a second. Now, just to cover the design really quick, I'm impressed with what they did here. I really like the way it looks. It's supposed to be quote-unquote bezel-less, but you do still see a slim border going around the monitor. It doesn't have a speaker, which gives way for that thinner border. Now, just a sidebar, my old X34 monitor does have a speaker, and while I would definitely prefer slim, thin borders as opposed to a speaker, it's kind of not bad to have if you're going to use it in a work environment, so it's pretty worth it that I cover it in case you don't want to clutter your desk with speakers and headphones. If you're just doing some basic video editing and not really too concerned about audio, it may be nice to have just to keep your desk nice and clean. On the back of the monitor, you have gorgeous RGB. I really like the placement. I mean, all these peripherals are doing RGB now, and I think the way to go with the monitor is on the back. It just gives you an absolute gorgeous back glow, and I'll show you how that is in line with the way I set it up in just a bit. But with even the basic effects, you get a really nice appeal depending on your setup, and I really like this more than the underglow shown on some other monitors, because depending on your desk, it really may not reflect well, and if your monitor's not super high, you can actually see the LED beads as opposed to getting a nice soft backlight like this monitor does. You can sync it with not only sound, but you could use LG's proprietary software to sync it with some visuals. Besides Sphere Lighting 2.0, it's not all party in the back, right? We have a bit of business as well. If you connect the monitor to your computer using the USB cable, it serves as a hub. You have access to 2 USB 3.0 ports, 2 HDMI ports, and a display port, along with an audio jack you can connect headphones to. Now, the monitor does come with the stand, but as you can see from my setup, I actually went with the wall-mounted option. What I grabbed was the Amazon Basics wall-mounted arm, which I feel definitely adds a nice effect to the setup, as it almost looks like the monitor is suspended in midair with nothing holding onto it, especially if you do some really nice cable management. Amazon Basics, their arm mount is actually made by Ergotron. So if you remember that brand, that was a really solid brand, Amazon actually took over the branding for that arm while Ergotron still does the manufacturing. So you're getting a really high quality product there. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about the stand from LG. Just know that it's made of metal. It gives you all of your typical articulations and everything like that. It's very robust. You'll never have an issue with it. Although I think for just 50 to 100 bucks, when you can get a wall-mounted solution like this, it just makes the whole setup a lot cleaner, looks a lot nicer. And when you have that RG backglow, it really adds a nice effect, especially with the colors and the way, like I said, it looks like it's almost hovering from the desk. Underneath the face of the monitor, we have the joystick, which is used to access the menu. I really like the placement of the joystick. It's a lot like the TVs, the OLEDs from LG. Really easy to navigate the menu, unlike when you have buttons and you're trying to figure out which one's up and which one's down and where is your finger aligned with what's coming on the screen. So really solid that they use this joystick mechanism. I really like it. Now, the next thing I want to get into is the color modes or the profiles. Obviously, you have all of the fancy stuff like sRGB, cinema, and game mode. Now, I threw mine immediately on game mode and I calibrated the monitor. What I used was the calibration software. If you have an X1 or you have a similar device that is compatible, I highly recommend getting Calman if you're looking to calibrate your monitors. Something to note though, out of the box, I have never seen a monitor this close to perfect color representation. I mean, after running the software, these are my results, and before running it, these were my results. They are almost identical. So you're really getting something out of the box that you don't really need to calibrate. But again, that's might not be the case every time you order, so I highly recommend getting the calibration software. What you'll also notice in the menus is some other options like black levels and response time for the game mode settings. Do not change the game mode settings above faster. Like, don't put it on fastest, which is supposedly the fastest one it could be on. I guess that's how you get the 1 ms response time, but honestly, it makes the games unplayable. The monitor also does have HDR 600, which is up from, I believe, the 400 or the 100 that was on the previous LG monitor without the B. I don't know if it's Windows, but HDR is unusable on this monitor. It just looks terrible. However, the reason why, and I know the common trope is that Windows has terrible HDR, but whenever I use my OLED connected to my computer with HDMI and I put the OLED on HDR10, it works flawlessly, no matter which game I play, whether it's Doom, DBFZ, and 4K and HDR, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And you could see the difference between non-HDR and HDR immediately. So I don't know if it's so much of a Windows problem as it is a panel problem, but just know if you're paying for HDR or to have HDR 600 or to upstep HDR on this monitor, don't even bother. I think HDR is going to be a much better selling point when we have OLEDs as monitors. Now, as I mentioned before, the color representation is excellent, but there is something to keep in mind. While this is a great IPS monitor and it has probably the best color representation, not just in terms of calibration, but the way the monitor looks, than any IPS I've used, it's not OLED. So I really want to talk about the price for a second. The price of this monitor is $1,600 if you can get it. Now, I managed to get it off of a reseller on Amazon that sells it as used open box, but really the monitor was brand new, like one of those. But if you want to get the monitor brand new, there is some astronomical prices between $1,900 and $2,000, and it doesn't even look like any official retailers are selling the monitor. I couldn't find it in stock anywhere else. I don't really know what's going on with the manufacturing process here, but even still, if you can get it for $1,600, that is just way too expensive for a non-OLED monitor. Personally, if I didn't already get this and I was super eager to replace my Acer X34, which I had major issues with, especially with their support, I would probably wait for OLED, unfortunately. And it is IPS, so you are going to see some of that bleeding along the edges. However, it is definitely not as significant as the previous generation of monitors, and it's the least I've seen on any IPS panel to date. Another really important thing to keep in mind is that the monitor is G-Sync compatible. Keyword there being compatible, which means it does not have the G-Sync proprietary chip inside the monitor. Now, if you don't know what G-Sync is, essentially it's when the monitor and the graphics card communicate with each other to give you dynamic and more accurate FPS or refresh rates. And the idea behind this technology is it's supposed to reduce screen tearing, improve input lag, and give you a lot less jitters or stutters, which I'm sure you're very familiar with playing pretty much any game that especially is graphically intensive. So obviously the most important part about this is, well, how does it work in comparison to a G-Sync module, G-Sync chip, which supposedly is supposed to give you a more dynamic and a wider range of frames per second or refresh rates to actually communicate with each other. But coming from a monitor like the Acer X34 and other LG monitors that actually had the chip in it, I did not notice a difference at all. The other LG monitor that shares this body, the 950GN, just without the B on the end, actually has the G-Sync chip installed. Normally what I would say is it's worth saving money and going with this monitor that doesn't have the chip, but you aren't saving any money, which is a little perplexing. Although, keep in mind, this monitor also has FreeSync. One other thing I'd like to bring up is my experience with LG products as a whole. Like I said earlier, I have several OLED TVs with them. I have had other monitors. I now have this monitor. And while experience with the company may certainly vary, especially looking at some of the reviews and what other people have to say, my experience with their support has been unbelievably positive. Anytime I have an issue and I call them, they answer quickly. I get someone who understands me, understands the issue. The reason why customer service has become so important for me, especially with these panels, is because of my experience with Acer. given how bad my experience was, I don't think I will ever buy an Acer product again. I'm not even kidding. So what happened is I had the dreaded issue where the Acer X34 keeps shutting off or getting a black screen and it does not power on. I called up Acer, they said I was within warranty and I could ship them my monitor. I shipped it in a well-packaged box, I got it out to them. They call me a day after they receive it and they tell me that the monitor is damaged because I didn't pack it correctly. After arguing pretty long back and forth, I mean, they wanted money to fix this now. They wanted $350 to fix this. After a long back and forth in several days, I was able to shave just $100 off of the price for them to fix it, or I had to pay for shipping for them to send it back broken. So I was in a really tough spot. So I paid the $250 and they fixed it. They sent it back to me and the same issue happened again. The original issue of it, the black screen. So they said they had to replace the entire screen because it was damaged in shipping, and now I'm having the same issue as before. How do you put a brand new panel on the monitor and have the same issue? I called them back and they told me they only repair what they repaired if it's within 30 days of them doing the repair. I didn't have the black screen issue until 32 or 33 days later. And then they said, you're also out of warranty. So if you want us to fix it, it's gonna be $900. That was almost the cost of a brand new monitor at the time, because this is years later from when it first came out. I tried to argue with them. I tried to get this thing fixed. They just would not budge. And the technical support was extremely impersonal. So while this monitor is expensive, I think sometimes it's worth it to pay a few extra dollars to buy into a better brand. So that's about it, guys. I'm sorry if this review wasn't technical enough for you. I just really wanted to give more of my experience, get a couple of really cool shots of the monitor, and then hopefully help you, while it not being super technical, maybe make a better decision based on a real life experience. Again, it's not that I regret getting the monitor. I just think if you can't get it cheaper for around $1,600, $1,700, just wait for OLED. But if you do see a price dip and you do have the money, get it. You will not be disappointed. Besides the fact that, how do you not have 4K? I mean, come on. So again, that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Hopefully not 5 years from now. Peace.